You can often encounter people who, when they try to describe what it was like to quit smoking, they'll say it was like an emotional roller coaster. Now, I want to point out something. The emotional roller coaster effects that you might feel at the time that you quit smoking are nothing compared to the emotional roller coaster and physical roller coaster effects that you can encounter if you don't quit smoking and you get any of the conditions that smoking can cause. Smoking, you're maintaining a nicotine addiction. That has its own emotional toll that lasts as long as you smoke. Beyond that, if you go on and get one of the smoking related conditions, and there are plenty of them, and there are plenty of people who get them, you can end up with problems that can result in you being emotionally crippled at times, but more often physically crippled. You could end up with conditions that are life-threatening. Over half the people who smoke will end up dying from their smoking, and the pain and suffering that they go through from these kind of conditions will make what you go through from quitting smoking seem like nothing in comparison. And again, I don't want to minimize what you might experience when you quit smoking. Some people quit with relative ease. Some have problems when they first quit smoking. But the physical withdrawal, it's short term. It's predictable. Hey, get through 3 days. Whatever is going to peak at that is going to peak by that point in time. It will get easier and easier after that point in time. You don't get that kind of guarantee with the problems that smoking causes, the kind of conditions that it results in, the lung damage that results in respiratory diseases that can leave you a pulmonary cripple, suffocating for months, for years, for decades. There are people who literally end up pulmonary crippled for decades until their only way out of the suffering that they're going through is death. When you're dealing with cancer, you're dealing with the cancer itself, you're dealing with the treatments for the cancer, the pain and suffering that's involved with all of that, and then the emotional toll that people go through. When you're dealing with the cardiovascular and peripheral vascular effects, where you could become basically crippled because your heart cannot keep up with demand because of damage it sustains from a myocardial infarction from smoking. You could end up crippled without limbs because of peripheral vascular effects from smoking. There are just so many problems that smoking causes and so much pain that can be involved with these problems that you could avoid by not smoking. But better than hearing it from me, we had a situation on our Freedom from Nicotine board, and it's getting close to 10 years ago, where one of our members, her husband, passed away from lung cancer. He was diagnosed with the condition 5 years prior to his death. And she chronicled exactly what was happening at different points in time with his recovery at certain points, with his treatments, what he was going through, all the way till the end. When she really posted about it was when he had passed away, and she put his obituary on the board, and a link to it, and a link to a support board that they had belonged to. It was interesting to see that board because he was one case, but there were hundreds of people like this sharing the experiences that they were going through. And if you want to see what a roller coaster is, emotional and again physical, just go through that board. And I'll have the link to the article at Joel's library that links over to that specific story, and that in that story there will be links into that board. If you really want to see what kind of pain and suffering you're working to avoid by quitting smoking, you'll realize that the roller coaster that you were on as a smoker and a roller coaster that you might feel from quitting, they're nothing compared to the roller coaster ride you may end up if you don't quit smoking. If you want to avoid that ride, it really is a matter of stopping smoking and then making and sticking to a personal commitment to never take another puff.